This week on UnScripted, Kurt Angle and others are lobbying for a new Wrestlemania opponent for the Olympic gold medalists. Plus, why Asuka really lost the SmackDown Women's Championship, and AEW's Double or Nothing main event has been confirmed. This and more this week on UnScripted. What is going on, everybody? It's the Francis here for episode 63 of Unscripted for your Saturday, March 30th, 2019. We are 2 days away from April. Where has the time gone? It is already April almost. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. What an interesting month of March we've had, of course, with Fastlane happening and Becky Lynch getting her rightful spot back into the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. We just had Asuka lose the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. For what other reason other than Vince McMahon's ego? But we'll get on that later. And of course, we lost Tommaso Ciampa for a year in the wrestling world. He is going to be out with neck surgery. So this has been a very eventful, good and bad month for WWE. As we do every week, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT. Off the top of my head, what comes back to mind on all three? Well, Monday Night Raw. How do I put this? Monday Night Raw was a very awful show. Monday Night Raw saw Michael Shea and Colin Jost be added to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which, as we all know, that Battle Royal has been irrelevant as it is. Only really Matt Hardy did anything after he won the championship. Well, I guess Cesaro. No, not really. He did get teamed with Paul Heyman, but he didn't do anything really with that. Matt Hardy went on to win the tag team titles. Mojo Rawley didn't do anything. Baron Corbin really didn't do anything. It took him at least a year before he started doing anything. And yeah, so the Battle Royal, which all of us joke about being irrelevant, if you win it, it does nothing for you, are going to have to sit there, especially those in the crowd, are going to have to sit there and watch as two comedians are the final two to win. It's either, I just hope it is that they eliminate Braun Strowman somehow. I don't want to see them win. If they like are the ones to eliminate Braun Strowman in a comedic fashion, fine. Then they run away because Braun Strowman gets back in the ring. They jump over the top rope and they leave. I'm fine with that. If that's what they do, they want to do some kind of comedic thing where Braun Strowman gets eliminated by those two and keeps him from winning. I'm fine with that. If they're down to the final two and one of them ends up winning, you just took this battle royal that everyone in the wrestling community thinks is a joke anyway and made it an even bigger joke. Not a funny one either. Monday Night Raw also saw a pointless Beat the Clock challenge, which opened the show. I had no idea why Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Ronda Rousey were in a Beat the Clock challenge. Next week, this coming Monday, they're in a 6-woman tag match against the Riot Squad. Why? I don't know. You didn't need them on Monday. You didn't need them Tuesday. You didn't need them this Monday. And you don't need them this Tuesday. We did not need to see the 3 women in the main event till we got to WrestleMania, unless you were going to do a contract style, WWE or UFC style, whatever. That's all you needed to do if you wanted to, was do a contract signing. You're not doing that. There's no point in having these women on the show. Quite honestly, after Fastlane, what happened, the next night or Tuesday afterwards, where you had Becky Lynch saying that she played Ronda Rousey like a fiddle. If you wanted to be, that's the last time we saw them to WrestleMania or a contract signing, I would have been fine with that. There was nothing else that needed to be added. But then, boom, we got the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Vince McMahon took a storyline between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey that showed that we did not need Charlotte. We sure as hell didn't need the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. The match we got on Tuesday, I would have been fine if that was the WrestleMania match for Asuka. Asuka versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship again. This time because Charlotte was in the fatal 4-way that they had would have been turned into like a 6-pack challenge. You had Nikki Cross and Charlotte, because that would have been 2 viable entities that could have went up against Asuka. Remember what Nikki Cross and Asuka did in NXT? You would have did that, in which Charlotte Flair ends up winning that match, and then you go to WrestleMania, and the two big women's matches are Charlotte Flair versus Asuka and Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, with of course Charlotte winning again, because Vince McMahon cannot have his golden goose, his golden girl, Charlotte Flair, without a championship for more than 3 months. It's been killing Vince that he has not had a championship on Charlotte since Hell in a Cell. Yeah, Hell in a Cell. It's been like just eating inside because he wants this woman to be as big a name as her father when it comes to wrestling accomplishments. By the way, Ric Flair is a 20 plus time World Heavyweight Champion, even though WWE only does 16. Just saying. Monday Night Raw really didn't. Oh yeah, Finn Balor beat Jinder Mahal in a handicap match to get a shot at Bobby Lashley. If we don't see the Demon at WrestleMania, then what was the point of taking the title off of him and putting it back on Lashley? And if Finn Balor doesn't come to WrestleMania as the Demon, we all know that Bobby Lashley is winning because the man is not allowed to beat Bobby Lashley. Just saying. And it's going to make the Demon look inferior than it used to. This mystique of the Demon's going to take a hit. Because Finn Balor didn't need the Demon to take on Brock Lesnar, but he needed the Demon to take on Bobby Lashley. There you go. He had Triple H, which I thought was funny. I thought it was one of the best promos. It was probably the best part of the show because that's how bad Monday Night Raw is, and that's not saying much. But when you look back on it, his promo and took the seriousness of him versus Batista and that let's make comedy out of it. Let me throw out this letter and quote the Spice Girls because that's a funny thing. It's like you had this serious feud between these two. You did finally touch on why Batista has not been in WWE for 4 years almost, and you decided let's make it a comedic act. Triple H, and here's the thing. If anybody thinks Triple H is losing to Batista with the fact that Kurt Angle is having his retirement match on the same show, you are out of your fucking mind. Yes, Triple H put his career on the line, but you're not going to see two people retire on the same WrestleMania. Just like the 3 big titles going on the line at WrestleMania, you're not going to have the 4 horsewomen walk out without championships. I'm sorry. And Kofi Kingston, it's going to come down to, this is how we're going to know how WrestleMania goes. If Kofi beats Daniel Bryan, then I already know, and Seth Rollins loses to Brock Lesnar, then I know who's winning the Raw Women's Championship match in the main event. If Seth and Kofi both win their respective championships, then Becky Lynch is not winning the Raw Women's Championship or the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, which we'll get into later. It's going to be very telling when we get to that main event if Brock is still champion or if Seth is still champion, if Kofi's champion or Daniel Bryan is still champion. That will tell you who's going to win the championships. There's no way Becky, Seth, and Kofi are walking out at the same time as champions coming out of WrestleMania. I say Becky is going to win because you gave the SmackDown Live Women's Championship to Charlotte, and Ronda's going to lose that title because she's going away out to WrestleMania. And I do not see the Boston Hug Connection losing the tag team championships because WWE likes these first time ever, these moments at WrestleMania. This is a WrestleMania moment. Becky beats Ronda. And simple. Becky beats Ronda, and at the end of the night, the 4 horsewomen are all holding championship gold, and they're all in the ring holding them up. I would have did it a different way, but it is what it is. Monday Night Raw. And speaking of Seth and Brock Lesnar, I honestly do not care about this match. I really don't. I don't give a rat's ass. It's what sucks about having Brock Lesnar as a champion. Back last year when Roman Reigns came out and won that Elimination Chamber match to see who would face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. The fact that Brock's not there every week or every other week to build the show, and he's only there once or twice during the build, why am I going to care? Same thing now. Seth could put on the best promos against Paul Heyman, but if Brock Lesnar is not there to help build the match, why should I care? And the fact that Brock Lesnar is booked for the May 3rd Saudi Arabian show, he's not losing the championship of WrestleMania anytime soon. The last bit of news, last bit of thing coming out of Monday Night Raw is the fact that Dean Ambrose It was reported earlier in the day on Monday that Dean Ambrose was done with WWE's main shows. You're not going to see him on Raw, the next two Raws or WrestleMania. WWE got wind of this report, of course, and put Dean Ambrose on Raw to have him get his ass royally beat in a 10-minute squash match, last man standing match. Yeah, he got a little bit of offense in, but most squash matches, unless you're like a big, huge Braun Strowman who's having his first match, you're going to have that person get a little bit of offense in. He got a little in, hit a dirty deeds after a chair shot, and that was it. Other than that, he got his ass kicked. And everyone's like, oh, this is a work. He's coming back. We'll see him at WrestleMania. How do you come back from a 10-minute squash match, which was a last man standing match? He got his ass royally kicked by Drew McIntyre in less than 10 minutes. You don't come back for that, especially when it was just one claymore to the face and he couldn't get up. No. There's no way he's coming back. Dean Ambrose is done. That is going to be the last time we see Dean Ambrose, probably for a good long while. Now, if he leaves WWE, which he probably most likely is, it doesn't mean he's going anywhere. He can leave, go home, and sit around, rest his body up, get his mind right. Maybe he has outside endeavors he wants to try and do. Maybe he wants to, do stuff that we don't know. I don't know what Jonathan Good likes to do in his spare time. Neither do you. Unless you know Jonathan Good personally, but if you don't, you don't know, I don't know. So whatever he's planning on doing doesn't mean he's going to another promotion. Because, yes, everyone speculates AEW. Because AEW has this big buzz, doesn't mean Jonathan Good is going to leave WWE and turn back into Jon Moxley and go to AEW. Maybe the guy doesn't want to wrestle right now. Maybe he's maybe he'll take a year off. Maybe he'll take that sabbatical that CM Punk did. CM Punk left in 2014 and I'm done with everything for now. Maybe he's going to feel like that. Maybe he just wants to, freeze, shut his mind off from wrestling for a while, go watch hockey or watch baseball, football, basketball, whatever he likes to watch. And take a break. I'm sure he's frugal with his money. I'm sure he doesn't spend very much, and and you never know. It might be he's gone for a year, and next year, WrestleMania time, we hear that music back, and out comes Dean Ambrose, calm, cool, and collected, ready to go for next year. You never know. And I posed this question last week, and it's what if Dean Ambrose's contract is up on Monday? Everyone's talking about his contract is up in April, but I have not seen anywhere, and you're not going to see, for the most part, unless somebody puts it out there, when his contract is actually up. Now, if it's somewhere, and I haven't been looking in the right spot, even though I've looked everywhere, it seems like, no one has given a definitive date of when Dean Ambrose's contract is up. So, what if his contract is up for the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, or even on WrestleMania night? What if his contract is up in the first 7 days of April? Do you think Vince McMahon is going to allow somebody who has not signed a new deal to appear at WrestleMania and then be gone the next day? No. Are you out of your fucking mind? No. So Dean Ambrose, I thought was going to get written off 2 weeks ago when he got his ass kicked by Drew McIntyre in that Falls Count Anywhere match. No, let's up the ante again and have him lose a 10-minute squash match. At least in the Falls Count Anywhere match, he put up a valiant effort before he got beat. This match, he got completely and absolutely destroyed. So I don't see him coming back on Monday or even being at WrestleMania. And again, to anybody who thinks this is a work, you are a blithering idiot and need to stop doing any kind of content creating, any podcast or anything because you are that fucking stupid. And that was Monday Night Raw. SmackDown Live. Of course, the two biggest things. WWE's creative is so piss poor. What did we have last week? We had a gauntlet match. Kofi Kingston going through the bar, going through Rowan, going through Samoa Joe, and Randy Orton. Unbelievably both times. And only to be defeated by Daniel Bryan after he won the gauntlet match, slapping the fans in the face, insulting our intelligence. After Rowan was beaten at DQ, which was genius the way they did that. He didn't need to win. He just needed to soften up Kofi Kingston to allow Samoa Joe or Randy Orton to end him. And what happened? Samoa Joe goes for a muscle buster, gets rolled up for a 1-2-3. Samoa Joe puts him in the coquina clutch, knocks him out like the last time he beat him in the gauntlet match. 1-2-3. Okay, unbelievable, unbelievable, unbelievable. Then you had Randy Orton come out and get pinned in the most unbelievable roll-up ever. only for Daniel Bryan to beat him just like no one else could. Well, fans hated that. Fans thought it was fucking bullshit. And first off, the majority of these people who are wrestling fans, why are you going after Vince McMahon and saying, "Oh, you need to do the right thing"? Calm your jets. People were so goddamn impatient. I was hoping they would have did something else. Maybe New Day tried to quit. Maybe the New Day rushed Vince McMahon's office to force him to get Kofi Kingston the championship match. Something. What do? We have another gauntlet match. Not a singles gauntlet match. We have a tag team gauntlet match for the New Day of Big E and Xavier Woods take out the Good Brothers, which they did in like 10 seconds. The team of Rusev and Nakamura, The Bar, again, and the Usos forfeiting, which I thought was an awesome moment, something that I'm sure everybody watched on YouTube time and time again, because it's on their YouTube page. I have not looked at the likes and dislikes on that video, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty goddamn high in likes. To Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan coming out to try and end the New Day, only for Eric Rowan to be beat down, thrown over the announce desk, and then the announce desk tossed on top, like laid on top of him to get counted out, which I thought was a great way to end it. Anybody who was sitting there was like, "Oh, how are we gonna have Dan?" Like, to anybody who hates seeing champions lose clean, this was the way to go. Having Eric Rowan be the man tagged in, having Eric Rowan the one to take the loss, actually, this way was the right thing to do. The Usos forfeiting was awesome. I think that was a great moment. There still is no talk on them re-signing with WWE, and they are tag team champions without a match at WrestleMania, so who knows what the hell they're doing with that. By the way, both tag team champions do not have matches at WrestleMania, and we are 1 week out from WrestleMania. Talk about a fucked up show. And the Andre the Giant Battle Royal was had members added yesterday. And unfortunately, the Hardys are two of them, which I think is absolutely a damn shame because the Hardys and the Usos have been lobbying on Twitter for a tag team match between brother and brother, which I would be so 100% in favor for, and I'm sure you would be too. But it was a great moment. Kofi Kingston wins, and Kofi Kingston goes to WrestleMania. No charades, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is going to WrestleMania. Now, it would not surprise me when we get to SmackDown this Tuesday that Vince McMahon is going to do something to try and stack the odds against Kofi Kingston more than just having to face Daniel Bryan. Oh, Big E and Xavier are banned from ringside, but Rowan can still be there. Or we're gonna make this Rowan and Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston a 2-on-1 handicap match. I would not put it past them to make this seem so goddamn unbelievable. It's the way Vince McMahon works. I could see them so easily making this one of the most unbelievable scenarios for Kofi Kingston. Now, of course, the other biggest story is the fact that Asuka was forced to lose her championship to Charlotte because we'll get into it later because we are going to talk about the Kurt Angle stuff first, but because reasons that is only to Vince McMahon. What did Charlotte do to win that championship opportunity? She's Charlotte Flair. That is it. Earlier in the day, they were on ESPN, and we'll talk about this later. But it was the wrong decision. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Charlotte Flair did not deserve to win the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. It gets the title into the main event, and we'll talk about what the plans might be. And no, it's not a unification match. To anybody who thinks that they're going to unify the titles, that's not going to do shit for anybody. It's not Asuka's, it's not Naomi, Carmella's, or anybody's on SmackDown, or anybody on Raw. It's not their fault that they don't have opportunities. Vince McMahon and the WWE don't have any faith in the women if you're not Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, or Ronda Rousey. Ember Moon being out hurts that division too. Bayley and Sasha Banks are tag team champions, which this entire situation going into WrestleMania just shows that the tag team titles for the women should have never happened. If I was going to go for titles for Raw and SmackDown for the women that are besides the women's championships, I would have went with a women's U.S. title and a women's Intercontinental title over tag team championships. That would give all the other women on the brand, on both brands, something to fight for. Now you have to force women like Mandy Rose and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, not counting them. Mandy Rose and the Icon and Sonya Deville, the Fire and Desire, and the Iconics are the only two legitimate teams on SmackDown. You had to put Naomi and Carmella together just to get through the Elimination Chamber. You had to put Tamina and Nia Jax together, even though they're family, just to get them to where they are. And it's just you don't have they don't have enough to support 3 championships this way. You cannot just take women and just throw them together. Tag team wrestling is 100% a science. If you talk to Bayley and Sasha Banks, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, they've been picking the brains of Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder for a good while because those two are tag team personified. They are tag team wrestling personified. They are the epitome of tag team wrestling. They know the ins and outs and how to do it right. And Bayley and Sasha Banks want to be one of the best tag team in the women's division. They want two of the best. It could be them, the Usos, the Hardys, or the New Day if they wanted to pick brains. But the only team they have access to right now on a weekly basis would be the Revival. So they want to be known as the best tag team ever in the women's division. So they go to the Revival. They are getting some great pointers. They are improving to be a great tag team. Now the Riot Squad, I don't really. They are a tag team, I guess, because they've been running together for about a year and a half. Tamina and Nia Jax need to go fuck off and get the hell out of the tag team title picture. It's the one thing that is pissing me off about this entire thing is the fact that since December, it feels like Tamina and Nia Jax have been in or around a title opportunity since October when we had the Evolution pay-per-view and Nia Jax won that battle royal, which she should not have won because nobody wanted her to win. But she won, and they turned the heel again. Ever since then, she has been in title opportunity after title opportunity after title opportunity after title opportunity. And it's absolutely pathetic. And again, well, of course, Ember Moon being out. It's the one thing about Ember Moon being out is the fact that it does cripple the women's division as a whole. No matter if there was one title or 2 titles, if they merge these titles, if they merge both titles, and we had one division, it still would not be as strong as it would be if Ember Moon was still active right now. I don't know how long she's out. I know she's missing WrestleMania. I think she's out until like May or June or something like that, which is still going to hurt this division for a good while. It sucks. It'd be great to see what Ember Moon could do. Could you imagine if Ember Moon wasn't injured and they had some kind of battle royal or some kind of like thing at Fastlane where they could have had women from Raw, women from SmackDown, and the winner could have been like a 6-pack challenge, 3 versus 3, or 3-on-3, 3 from Raw, 3 from SmackDown. The winner of that match goes to WrestleMania to face Asuka. Ember Moon could have won that because brand split doesn't seem to matter right now. Brand split doesn't seem to matter whatsoever because of the tag team titles and the fact that Becky Lynch and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair are facing off against Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. So that would have been a great thing. And could you imagine Ember Moon versus Asuka at WrestleMania? That would have been a WrestleMania worthy match. There would have been no excuse not to give that match to us at WrestleMania. But they didn't. I pitched Nikki Cross to face off against Asuka at WrestleMania, but we didn't get that. No. They gave the title to Charlotte Flair. Is it the women's fault that the SmackDown Live Women's Championship is second fiddle to the Raw Women's Championship? No. This happens every year. Last year, it was the Raw Women's Championship over the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, even though the SmackDown Live Women's Champion was being defended against the Women's Royal Rumble. There would seem to be more emphasis on the Raw Women's Championship, even though it was held by Alexa Bliss and they were going up with Nia Jax. Even because that feud started at the Elimination Chamber. They actually had a feud. When you had you had Asuka and Charlotte Flair. We didn't get the official confirmation that it was going to be Charlotte Flair versus Asuka until the night of Fastlane. And that was only like 3 or 4 weeks before WrestleMania. So you really didn't get much build. And I'm pretty sure the previous year it was the Raw Women's Championship taking precedent over the SmackDown Women's Championship because it was Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and I believe Nia Jax in a fatal 4-way. And of course, again, Nia Jax in a title opportunity that she shouldn't have. So it's a rotate every year. This year it's Raw Women's Championship. Next year it'll be the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. That's just how it goes. That doesn't mean you give. That doesn't mean you give unwarranted opportunities to Charlotte Flair. We're just gonna get. We'll get into that later, and when this was decided, and what were the original plans, and where they go from here. Other than that, SmackDown didn't have anything else except for like a boring Miz promo, which Miz I still don't buy as a babyface. I just don't. I'm not gonna probably ever buy the guy as a babyface. The guy is a career heel, a career chicken shit heel who just took all of he took Sanity and buried them. People say here's the thing. People say Asuka got buried because of Charlotte Flair. Motherfuckers, at least her and Charlotte Flair put on a Mac Classic. And it's probably the best SmackDown singles match since Andrade Cien Almas versus Rey Mysterio 1 and 2. So if you look at this year, if you were to do top 5 matches of the year for SmackDown Live, Raw, and NXT separately, SmackDown has 3 matches this year that are match of the year candidates for if you want to do match of the year for a TV show. Because you have Andrade Cien Almas versus Rey Mysterio 1 and 2, and you have Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. At least that was a great fucking match. What happened with Sanity was a fucking burial. They go out there, they triple team The Miz, who's already gone through 7 security guards, one of the Colon brothers, and Shelton Benjamin, beat him down. He comes back and beats them down again. And it's like, are you kidding me? Who the fuck did Sanity piss off? I mean, Killian Dane probably pissed off WWE for shooting off on Twitter the fact that he hasn't really been on the road while Alexander Wolf and Eric Young have been on house shows, and Nikki Cross has been on the Raw brand doing house shows, but he's been at home doing nothing. Doesn't help your stock at all. Doesn't help your stock. So, that's a burial. 110% a burial. Speaking of another burial, was in that gauntlet match with the Good Brothers. They lasted a minute and a half at most. They, of course, had not been on their contracts are coming up in September. They have not signed a new deal with WWE. They don't want to sign a new deal with WWE as of this time. And WWE finally pretty much just like, we're done with them. We're going to kill them pretty much as more than they already are, and we're going to move on. But that was SmackDown Live, really. Nothing else big happened. NXT started off with Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano, and a great fucking promo between these two hunks. I love one thing that I don't think I mentioned on Wednesday, but you have to go back and watch it again. During this promo, the NXT Championship is on a podium, or on a table podium thing, and on the plates, they didn't take Tommaso Ciampa's plates off. They kept them on, which they should stay on till we get to WrestleMania. Whoever wins the championship at WrestleMania should not WrestleMania, but at TakeOver, should hold that title up, and they still say Ciampa's name on it, because then that would be Goldie going to either Gargano or Adam Cole. I didn't think about this on Wednesday, but it came to me on Thursday. We have history being made at TakeOver. We have history. Not only will we have the 15th ever, the 15th different NXT champion because Tommaso Ciampa was 14th, but the winner of this match at TakeOver will be the first ever Triple Crown champion in NXT history. Because Adam Cole was in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals last year when they did that triple threat because Bobby Fish got injured. He defended the titles with Kyle O'Reilly, so he is a former tag team champion, even probably being the Undisputed Era. And he is the first ever North American champion. So him winning the NXT Championship would make him the first ever Triple Crown champion. Johnny Gargano, tag team championships, won at NXT TakeOver Toronto with Tommaso Ciampa, won the North American Championship, held it for a couple weeks, and then he could also become the first ever Triple Crown champion. So that has not been mentioned yet. I'm surprised it hasn't been mentioned because they usually have these stats and facts thrown out there. But I'm like, holy shit. I forgot. I was like thinking, they're going to give out. I was thinking for a minute, I was like, they're going to give Johnny Gargano the championship because he'll be the first ever Triple Crown champion. Then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. Adam Cole has also won both sets of titles besides the NXT Championship. So we have a history-making match coming at NXT TakeOver New York. If the match wasn't as big as it already could be, we have the first ever Triple Crown champion to be crowned at NXT TakeOver, and I think that is fucking awesome. Of course, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic also came to a head with Aleister Black and Ricochet beating the Forgotten Sons in a pretty damn good match. The tournament this year for Dusty Rhodes was probably one of the best tournaments they've done for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. The first one was, I think, a little bit too big because most of the matches were on house shows. We really didn't get to see. We didn't get to see many if any first round matches in that first year because they were all on house shows, and I think that was the wrong way to go with this. And of course, you had the finals be two makeshift tag teams, and the winners, of course, being Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. The second iteration was the winners of the Authors of Pain versus TM61 in that shark cage match, which was a pretty damn good match. Last year, of course, the Undisputed Era won in a triple threat match when Roderick Strong turned on Pete Dunne to align himself with the Undisputed Era after Bobby Fish hurt his knee. I don't know if they were going to do the turn without Bobby Fish getting injured, but I was glad that they did. And then, of course, you had this year, which sees Ricochet and Aleister Black winning. I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of makeshift tag teams winning a tag team tournament. Now, Ricochet and Aleister Black have gotten a lot more team-wise. They've been more active as a tag team, of course, on Raw and SmackDown. They were thrown together because of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, in my opinion. And I feel like we should. I don't like seeing tag teams just get thrown winning over legit tag teams like the Forgotten Sons or the Undisputed Era or DIY or one of those. I would like to see tag teams being put together, tag teams that are together winning this tournament. I did say this to myself. I didn't say it on podcast on the review this past Wednesday. But if the War Raiders are still in the NXT next year when this is going on and they're not tag team champions anymore, I want to see the War Raiders be the 2020 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic champions. I think this tournament, this entire thing, would be made for them. That would be awesome to see the War Raiders, which quite honestly, I think they should have been the ones going into this tournament and winning the 2019 edition, but they already won the tag team titles at NXT TakeOver Phoenix, which I'm not saying it was early for them, but I think it should have been them going into WrestleMania weekend after winning the tournament, but that's just my opinion. But honestly, other than that, nothing else really big happened on NXT. Moving on here, we're going to talk about Kurt Angle and others backstage lobbying for a match change at WrestleMania for Kurt Angle. As we reported last week, that WWE was considering changing the opponent for Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, and it seems like it is still up for debate at this time. A new report from Russia suggests that the match is still not etched 100% in stone. Kurt Angle himself and some big backstage officials are reportedly lobbying for the opponent to be changed to John Cena. On the other hand, many backstage officials believe this is excellent heat for Baron Corbin, and the negative response is only helping his character. And I'm going to tell them that they are absolutely fucking wrong. This is going to damage, first off, you having fans leave the product. If Kurt Angle goes up against Baron Corbin, which Kurt Angle, first off, is 50 years old, and if you've watched the last few weeks, has been blown up, has been slow, and his matches have been, the best they can be. They're not really the best matches in all, but this is not good. If Kurt Angle does not get a proper send-off match, a lot more fans are going to stop watching. People are going to not forgive WWE for this. If I'm Kurt Angle, I would not forgive WWE for this. I would have them, after this, I would have my contract terminated. I'd go somewhere else and get a proper send-off match. Because this is not going to help Baron Corbin. This is go-away heat. This is go-away, we don't want you around heat. This is not good heat. There's still a week left until WrestleMania, and the point it appears that it may be a 50-50 split about what is going to happen with Kurt Angle's match. As of last weekend, Kurt Angle versus Corbin was still planned match. Kurt and others backstage lobbied for Cena, and this is just what I am perceiving, but it seems WWE thinks the negative response is great for Corbin, and they still have 1 week left to change their mind. Raja.com Twitter account. Yeah, they need to change the match because Kurt Angle is not. This was just not a good idea. It's one thing to get negative reaction, but this is a send off match. This is a finals match. You don't go into this thing with big heel heat. Honestly, a send off match, like if it would have been Kurt Angle, if it would have been like him and Baron Corbin been feuding for like 10 years plus, and that was like Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin had a big significant impact on Kurt Angle's career. He was a big reason that Kurt Angle was like had a great feud or something with Kurt Angle. That would be fine. I would rather have Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle as Kurt Angle's final match, with Brock Lesnar probably murdering Kurt Angle in the middle of the ring. Not really, but you know what I mean. This is just trash. This is absolute trash. There's a picture of Kurt Angle versus a dumpster fire with Baron Corbin's name underneath of it. That is pretty much what this is going to be. Yes, Kurt Angle should have retired years ago, but it is what they're going to do. So that is that. Lana events about Rusev Day. Last week's SmackDown, Kofi Kingston was able to win a gauntlet match that would send him to WrestleMania to face WWE Champion Daniel Bryan. Vince came out after the match and gave him one final opponent and slapping everybody in the face. Pretty much, Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston would come up short in the final bout and lose his big opportunity. Since then, WWE posted a video of New Day talking about quitting WWE. Big E would later put out his own video where he talked about the New Day going everywhere that's asked of them in the company, and said nothing but nothing. People like us only get so far, which is it's got many racial overtones. The problem with this entire feud, it should have been about respect and not getting his just due. I do not like, and JR even posted this after that show was off when SmackDown went off the air. Race should have went nowhere near this entire storyline. It wasn't as bad as Triple H versus Booker T from 2003, where Booker T was pretty much being made fun of and they were being very racist to him, only for Triple H to hit a pedigree, take about 30 minutes to put one arm over him and pin him 1, 2, 3. It's not that bad, but it's not something I want to see us go into. Finally, then we tweeted this about WWE's inability to fully capitalize on success of Rusev Day. Currently, Rusev and Lana are teaming with Shinsuke Nakamura, losing the last 3 televised matches. Facts. That really isn't that what she said about Big E's thing. The reality is, it doesn't matter how hard we work, show up early to perfect our craft, only the Golden Trojan will get the opportunity. Look, Rusev lost 60 pounds. Rusev Day became the most popular, and how was he rewarded? He wasn't. That's life, it's unfair, and that's why I'm salty. Absolutely correct. If you're not Roman Reigns, Charlotte Flair, Becky in this sense, but Becky is because of us. If you're not somebody that WWE sees any value in, and I mean if Vince McMahon doesn't see any value in you, the crowd could be screaming your name from left to right. They want Kofi. They want Rusev Day. Rusev Day was the hardest it was when Rusev Day was in that tag team fatal 4-way with the Usos, the New Day. I think it was the Usos, the New Day, Rusev Day, which was Aiden English and Rusev, and I can't remember what the other team was. It wasn't the Bar. They were still on Raw. But they had a fatal 4-way at Clash of Champions. And Rusev Day was over so hard when he put the Staccolade on one of the Usos, I believe it was, and I believe Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston. The crowd was hoping, praying that one of those guys was going to tap out, and they didn't. That was the hardest that team had ever gotten, and it just started to slowly cool off from there until they eventually broke it up. Shinsuke Nakamura, and it's funny because they broke up Rusev Day only to pair Rusev as a heel with Shinsuke Nakamura. Tell me what the hell that's all about. And it's kind of funny because you have them break up. He beats Aiden English, I think, in a nothing match, and then Aiden English is now on 205 Live commentating. The reason Aiden English is being used in any way they can is because he is Eddie Guerrero's son-in-law, and they don't want to anger the Guerrero family. So there's that. But yeah, if you're not a Charlotte Flair, if you're not a Becky Lynch right now, if you're not a Ronda Rousey, if you're not a Roman Reigns, it doesn't matter. If you could be the most over person in the world, Okay, Shinsuke Nakamura, over like Rover, coming up from NXT. He can't speak. He cannot speak proper English. So what does WWE do? He's been speaking, but I don't understand a word he's saying. We can't push him. No one's gonna appreciate this guy. This guy's not worth it. That's my Kevin Dunn impression for the week. Yeah, if you're Shinsuke Nakamura, a Asuka, if you're Cesaro, who should be world champion at least 2 or 3 times in his career by now, Kofi just happened by accident, which, yeah, that was definitely something that was going to happen because of what the fans wanted. Because quite honestly, they had no plans coming out of Royal Rumble. Which coming out of the Royal Rumble, if you have all championships, should have plans going into WrestleMania. Asuka didn't have any plans. Daniel Bryan didn't have any plans. R-Truth definitely didn't have any plans. I don't think going to Samoa Joe. The U.S. title and the Intercontinental Championship did not have any plans. We are a week from WrestleMania, and neither one of the tag team titles have any plans as of this moment. Now, yes, Ricochet and Aleister Black won a match against the Revival this past Monday, so I can imagine on Monday we'll get an announcement that they're going to be wrestling the Revival for the tag team titles at WrestleMania, which is going to be huge because in a fantasy booking world, the team of Aleister Black and Ricochet, if everything went their way, could be double champions walking out of WrestleMania weekend. That, of course, is not going to happen. Their last day in NXT will happen at NXT TakeOver New York. But I'm just saying, in a fantasy world, if that's what happens, they could go to TakeOver, win those titles, and then come into WrestleMania as the NXT tag team champions to defeat the Revival. That would be interesting. But no. So many plans, like the only 2 things coming out of the Royal Rumble that had any plans was Ronda Rousey and Seth Rollins. That was it. They had no plans for anybody else on the card. It feels like Batista was a last-minute thing that they had to throw in there. They had to add Charlotte Flair to the Raw Women's Championship match. Add the SmackDown Women's Championship to that match because they had no plans for Asuka. And when they brought plans up, they were like, you know what, we're going to pull this away and we're going to change something else. This has been a really bad WrestleMania build. It has been. You can tell me otherwise, I don't care. It has been one of the worst builds. They had more plans going into WrestleMania 32 when half the talent, John Cena, Seth Rollins, and others were injured coming out of WrestleMania 31. They had more plans and were more prepared for that WrestleMania than this one. And it's sad. And this is what happens when WWE allows Vince McMahon to do whatever the fuck he wants. He'll change his mind on everything. And here we are. Let's see. Like 8 days? 8 days? 8 days away from WrestleMania. And we still don't know what the tag team champions are doing. And it doesn't look like the Usos are going to face the Hardys at WrestleMania. Yeah, there you go. WWE did all they could to give us this championship match. They went way too over the top. Here's the thing. If Kofi Kingston goes into WrestleMania and loses to Daniel Bryan, I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, oh my God, how could they do this? They're racist. How could they let the man kept the Kofi... Shut up, motherfuckers. If Kofi Kingston does not walk out of WrestleMania WWE champion, I don't want to see one person on Twitter pull the race card. If you do, you are absolutely irrelevant and you need to get off of social media 110%. But, yeah, that is what we got. WrestleMania has had a very bad build. And the fact that, yeah, Lana's 100% correct, though. If you're not somebody like a Charlotte Flair or Roman Reigns or Ronda Rousey, if you're from a different country, it doesn't matter if you're Cesaro. Well, Sheamus has had his time in the sun, but you know, if you're not a Cesaro, if you're like a Cesaro, Nakamura, or Asuka, they're not going to do anything what you can. And I fear for like these Sky Pirates. I fear for most of the people down in NXT because WWE is not going to handpick them. And I'm surprised that Ricochet and Aleister Black have yet to lose on main roster, but once we get to WrestleMania, that's where their first loss is. If it's a good match and it makes sense, a loss is fine. But having them lose Like having Samoa Joe, who is the United States champion, is going up against Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. Lost to Rey Mysterio in a tag team match, lost to Kofi Kingston, and then lost to Kurt Angle. How a champion is supposed to feel important if all they are doing is losing? Let me know what you think about that. We're going to move on here. Why did WWE take the title off of Asuka? This past Tuesday, Charlotte Flair faced Asuka for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship in a random championship match that she did not deserve. No reason why she was even given that championship opportunity. It's just, oh, we're going to have a championship match. There was nothing. I don't know why they never gave us a reason why she won why she was even in this match. It was a rematch from the WrestleMania 34 encounter, and Charlotte once again beat her, winning the title in the same way that she did before. Flair is now the 8-time women's champion. Original plans were for Ronda Rousey to defend the Raw Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch in the main event of WrestleMania. Now there are two champions in the match. According to Dave Meltzer on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Charlotte winning the SmackDown Women's Championship wasn't planned until the day of SmackDown Live. This is pathetic. The original plan was for this week was for Mandy Rose to face Carmella, Naomi, and Sonya Deville to see which would face Asuka at WrestleMania. Meltzer went on to say that Vince McMahon apparently scrapped the plan for the women's fatal four-way the day of the show and wrote on the F4W forums that McMahon didn't want to have Asuka face the winner of that match since nobody would care about it anyway. Bullshit. Now, there would have been so many people caring as much as the Raw Women's Championship match. You could have put Asuka versus Nikki Cross. You could have put Asuka versus Ember Moon if she wasn't injured. And nobody would care as much as the Raw Women's Championship match because it's just that, because it's the hottest feud in the company. That doesn't mean you don't put the SmackDown Live Women's Championship in its own match. That's the problem with it, is that Vince McMahon and the people saying this was the right call. No, it wasn't the right call at all. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. There was so many other things they could have did. Yes, the Fatal 4-Way was the people in the Fatal 4-Way was not the best options for them to use. I would have had a Fatal 4-Way happen. During that match, Nikki Cross's music plays, and then she goes out there and she wreaks havoc over the entire thing. Out comes Shane, out comes whichever McMahon you want to have come out, maybe Stephanie, and then you have her say, well, if that's how this is going to be, then Asuka comes out before Stephanie can say anything, and Asuka, being who she is, will be like, I want all of them, including Nikki, and then you get Asuka versus Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville versus Carmella versus Naomi versus Nikki Cross, and you would have had a 6-pack challenge for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. If you wanted to make an elimination, you could. You would have quick eliminations of Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Carmella, and and Naomi, leaving you with Nikki Cross versus Asuka in a one-on-one match, and have them go about for 10 minutes to give yourself a WrestleMania match. That would have been great. But no. And here's the thing. The idea of Charlotte going into WrestleMania with a title has been talked about for a while, but the trigger was pulled on Tuesday. As of this moment, Asuka is not scheduled to be involved in the main event match of WrestleMania. No, you know where she's going? Pre-show Battle Royal. WrestleMania 35 takes place April 7th inside MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The original plans was for Asuka to go. It was mentioned how the original plan up until the day of the show was to indeed have Asuka defend the title against the winner of the Fatal 4-Way. Apparently, Rose was booked to pull out the victory in the Fatal 4-Way and have her second title match against Asuka. Now, that would have been a terrible match because the first one was a terrible match. My idea, I think, was a lot better. WWE's decision to cut the match centered around how lengthy the card for WrestleMania has turned out. Oh, now you care about the length of the show. Really? Now you care. Because, I don't know, you're booking Shane McMahon versus The Miz, Batista versus Triple H. You're booking match after match after match after match, giving us matches that we don't need to fucking see. And now you care? Oh, yeah. And they reportedly wanted to remove a match with little interest and use it to boost the main event. There's no one, if Rose would be defended, would have defeated Asuka at Mania, which would have been probably a bad idea anyway. Although changes in stipulation may occur, for now, WWE SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey will face off in a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship only. I think I put this in here wrong. You know, now coming out of Tuesday or Wednesday, the talk of what they're really going to be doing is what they're calling a title like a winner take all or all on the line. What that means is, if Becky gets pinned, nothing changes. Both women keep their titles. If Becky beats Charlotte, she wins the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. If Becky beats Ronda Rousey, she gets the Raw Women's Championship. If Charlotte beats Ronda or Ronda beats Charlotte, they walk out dual champions. It's not a unification match. That is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. Why the hell would you? Who the fuck came up with this shit? This just shows how creatively bad WWE is. The fact that it's title, it's all on the line. If Becky wins, she wins Ronda or Charlotte Flair, she wins that championship. If one of the other women pin one of the other champions, they become a dual champion. That is fucking stupid. This is all speculation. We do not know if this is actually going to be what happens, but that is absolutely stupid. Just make it. If you want to do all on the line, then you better do some damn good explanation of how this fucking works, because that just sounds bad. Absolutely bad. All on the line with... I can't even. I just can't even. This is just Vince McMahon 101. WWE announces the Women's Battle Royal, though. WWE's official announced the second annual Women's Battle Royal, and they don't want to give it a name because they wanted to go with Fabulous Moolah, and that didn't go over too well, and they just said, we're just going to keep it as Women's Battle Royal. Superstars confirmed for the match of this writing: Asuka, Carmella, Naomi, Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Nikki Cross, Dana Brooke, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Mickie James, and Zelina Vega. Yes, of course, women from NXT will be on in this show. I imagine NXT UK will also be brought in. Toni Storm, Rhea Ripley if she's back from injury, because yes, Rhea Ripley is injured right now. It's an ankle or a foot injury. We'll let you know if anything gets talked about that. But yeah, Asuka goes from potential WrestleMania match to pre-show. God, it sucks to be Asuka, man. She deserved better than this. The women's division, it's not Asuka or Mandy Rose or Sonya Deville or Nikki Cross. It's not Nikki Cross's fault that Nikki Cross isn't being used. It's WWE having no faith. If you're not Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, or Ronda Rousey, they don't have faith in you. It's not the other women's fault that they're not getting the time that is Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, or Ronda Rousey is getting. WWE won't invest any time in anybody else. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville should stay a tag team. I'm not a fan of the fact that they wanted to try and do this whole we're going to break these two up storyline that they keep bringing up and dropping. They need to be a tag team. They are good. They are better together than they are apart. Besides, you need more than just the Iconics on SmackDown to have a tag team division. Hell, I would rather have Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville in that fatal four-way for the tag team titles than the Iconics. That's just me. Nikki Cross versus Asuka, I think, would have been an amazing WrestleMania match. Give them 20 minutes, Falls Count Anywhere or something. They would have put on a hell of a match. But no, let's give the title to Charlotte Flair, who doesn't deserve it and shouldn't have and had no business being in that match, period. I still don't get why they decided to do that. Speaking of the women, possible plans for a main event for WrestleMania next year already in the discussion backstage. Becky versus Ronda versus Charlotte will headline WrestleMania 35, as we know. While we already know that Ronda's Women's Championship will be on the line, the status for Flair's newly won SmackDown belt is currently unclear. This should be clarified Monday night or on Monday, of course. They're not going to tell you on SmackDown. And the company's plan for the big match for the big match is starting to manifest backstage as well. Oh, this is where this is at. Yeah, I had this in the wrong place, but yeah. Yeah, according to Dave Meltzer, this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE's key goal when it comes to the triple threat is to emerging from it with a clear direction for next year's WrestleMania. I don't buy this at all, but he goes on to note that this could mean a Rousey versus Lynch singles match in Tampa or Flair versus Lynch bout. So winning pinfall or submission should be telling, even though Rowdy is expected to embark on a lengthy hiatus after the event. Meltzer adds that Vince McMahon changes his mind just like a snap of the fingers. Could throw a spanner in the works, especially at this year's key title match was essentially decided by the fans. still, it looks like WrestleMania 2035's main event will definitely be worth something worth reading into, no matter who the winner is. Vince McMahon changes his mind at the snap of a finger, except for Roman Reigns and John Cena going like Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar and John Cena versus the Rock twice in a lifetime. He has changed his mind on every single WrestleMania main event. I don't see this leading into anything next year. And this is why Becky Lynch is winning the Raw Women's Championship, and it's not going to be a title for title. Becky staying on Raw is going to Raw. Charlotte staying on SmackDown. If you want to have a Charlotte versus Becky for WrestleMania next year, you cannot have either one of these two on the same brand, because you know one leads to another, where both of these women will end up facing each other either at SummerSlam or on the way to Survivor Series. And by the time Survivor Series comes up, if we have Becky Lynch, if we have Raw versus SmackDown, Lynch or Flair, well, I'm sure Flair will lose her SmackDown Live Women's Championship, probably back to Asuka, because there is nobody else, unless you want to give it to Nikki Cross. There is nobody else on SmackDown roster to give it to. So if we had that title for title going in, like the title for title, champion versus champion matches at some Survivor Series this coming year, Becky Lynch versus Asuka, I'm pinning for that match, for the Women's Championship, if we go that far. Becky Lynch should honestly, if she wins this match, should keep the title for at least a year, because quite honestly, there is nobody else on Raw. Charlotte stays on SmackDown. Asuka stays on SmackDown. Charlotte goes through, for now, Shayna Baszler. It also depends on where Shayna Baszler goes when she comes up, because Shayna Baszler is 100% coming up from NXT. Where she goes, if she goes to Raw, it's going to be her and Becky Lynch. And quite honestly, your big four should be Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Asuka. Becky and Shayna on Raw, Charlotte and Asuka on SmackDown. There you go. Oh, this next one's a good one. Hall of Famer says Kofi Kingston going to WrestleMania is a joke. Oh, we all know about superstar Billy Graham, don't we? Don't we? Well, this past Tuesday's Big E and Xavier Woods of the New Day were able to win a tag team gauntlet match, as we know. One individual does not have Kofi Mania is WWE Hall of Famer superstar Billy Graham. This was the same guy who went completely ballistic last year at WrestleMania when Ronda Rousey made her debut and almost made Triple H tap out to the armbar. This is what he says. Is the WWE serious? 3 question marks. I turned on my computer today and went to the wrestling news sites, and what did I see? Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship at Mania. Talk, is Vince going to put that WWE belt on Kofi? Shit, you, not me. We'll have a 145-pound WWE champion. This must have been an idea by new senior creative Lady Dana Warrior. Meltzer says she has been promoted to an extremely high position on the creative team and attends meetings that only Vince, H, and Steph are in. Bullshit. Bam, how did she get so smart? My friend Hannibal has been monitoring the Monday Night Raw steady decline in TV viewership. Well, Hannibal, it dropped again last night in Boston, Monday, March 21st. Steady decline in TV viewership. I predict that this year's Mania will be so bad that next year, 2020, will not come close to selling out. The thrill is gone. Is anyone out there really excited to see these two lightweights wrestle for the WWE Championship? Oh, one more thing. I would love to see Kofi at 145 put his newly won WWE belt on the line against Brock Lesnar. Great logistics. One man being outweighed by a good 135 pounds. A total joke. This thing is SBG. Tell me how you feel, superstar Billy Graham. That is his opinion, and he has every right to his opinion. So, Billy Graham, you didn't have any problem with AJ Styles being WWE champion? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar in a serious match. Yes, Kofi Kingston faced Brock Lesnar at Beast in the East a couple years ago in 2016 or 2015, and really got his ass kicked. But that is beyond the point. It was at 2014, one of the two. But he really got his ass kicked like he should have. That was Kofi Kingston not being taken seriously. Kofi Kingston, I'm sure, in a Daniel Bryan's, AJ Styles, or Finn Balor type match up against Brock Lesnar, can put on a hell of a match against Brock Lesnar. So, hey, he's entitled to his opinion. And Raw ratings have nothing to do with this Kofi Kingston storyline, since this is a SmackDown feud. So the fact that he's even bringing up the Raw ratings for a SmackDown feud just tells you that this guy doesn't even pay attention to the product. I have no problem with it, but hey, it's his own opinion. Anybody who wants to sit there and be like, oh, how dare you talk about that? You racist, blah. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. If Superstar Billy Graham wants to talk like this, it's his own opinion. If you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to look at it. You don't have to read it. You can just, oh, this guy's full of shit, and move on. Vince McMahon says more WWE stock to fund the XFL. New SEC filing made by WWE revealed that Vince McMahon sold 3,204,227 shares of company stock worth about $270 million. The filing note that the sale was primarily to fund Alpha Entertainment, which oversees the XFL football league that will be launched in 2020. Vince informed the company that he has no current plan to sell additional shares and that he intends to continue his role as WWE chairman and CEO for the foreseeable future. The shares sold this week represent 4.1% of total outstanding share of stock. Vince still owns 28,682,948 shares of WWE stock, which represents 36.8% of the company's total shares of stocks and 80.1% of total voting power. So yeah, Vince McMahon, there you go. Vince McMahon, I hope he has some kind of backer, because if he's trying to fund this himself and it's only his money, yo, Vince, I'm sure you could find people to invest. If you want to, I'm pretty sure there are people out there who love the original XFL, who have a lot more money than I probably will ever see in my life, who would love to help fund the XFL. Just don't do what the AAF did and find some fucking retard who owns a hockey team who wants to sit there and fold the league because they're not in partnership with the NFLPA. Don't go find one of those idiots who don't see what the actual league should be about. Find somebody who actually is. I would, if I had the money, I would throw a little bit the XFL way just because I want to see it succeed. Because maybe, just maybe, by the time 2020 comes around, Vince McMahon is going to walk away and Triple H can take over. We can only hope, can't we? So, 80.1% of total voting, which means he has majority votes still. If we want to see Vince McMahon be ousted as anything from WWE, you would have to see that total voting power just drop, and it's not going to. Vince McMahon is not that dumb. Former Lucha Underground star possibly signing with WWE. It was confirmed this week that Joey Ryan, Thunder Rosa, Cobra Moon, Ivelisse Velez, and El Hero del Fantasma, King Cuerno, were released from their Lucha Underground contracts. There is now speculation of King Cuerno, Tasma, possibly going to WWE in the near future. Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that Cuerno had an offer from WWE at one point. There's no word yet if WWE still has interest in former AAA World Cruiserweight Champion, but it was assumed that this offer still stands. Cuerno was purportedly offered a spot in the Cruiserweight Classic back in 2016, but Lucha Underground and AAA would not allow him to enter. Regarding Ivelisse possibly coming to WWE, Meltzer noted that she has been behind the scenes issues with people in WWE in the past, which is why she's not there now. There's been no recent talk of Ivelisse possibly returning to WWE, but that could change as WWE looks to sign as many talent from the indies as they can. She was signed to WWE development deal in 2011-2012, working under the name Sofia Cortez. She also worked through WWE's Tough Enough in 2011. There's been rumors of Lucha Underground being done, but that's not official yet. Chris DeJoseph, the Lucha Underground co-executive producer, stated last month that he thought the show was dead. When asked about Season 5 taking place, you can hear from an exclusive interview with DeJoseph, which was released as part of the Win CLY podcast earlier this week, is embedded in an audio player. Now. The only reason I know of, first off, Joey Ryan, of course he's in All Elite Wrestling. He's doing all that stuff at AEW. I'm not a fan of Joey Ryan. Haven't been since his Impact Wrestling days when he was sitting there like, I'm bringing Sleazy back. I hated that thing. He's doing his thing, so we're not going to worry about him. Thunder Rosa, Cobra Moon, no idea who that is. Ivelisse was nothing. She was in Tough Enough 2011, the Stone Cold Steve Austin version. She brought nothing. Now I hear she's doing. She was much better in Lucha Underground, but that remains to be seen. El Hijo del Fantasma, King Chrono. Sonny Gurria, who is part of AEW, came out and said that the reason he went to AEW and not WWE is for the simple fact is there's too many people signed to WWE as of right now. If I was King Chrono or Del Fantasma, I'm sure AEW would be nice picking you up if they could. I'm sure AEW would love to pick you up. Or if you want to go back to AAA and just do that and do AEW too, because there was a partnership there you go. We'll have to just wait and see, and if King Chrono or Higo, I'm going to say that wrong, Del Fantasma makes it to WWE, I will let you know. JR gives his thoughts on Kofi's bill to Mania, and I will talk about that. Also, Jim Ross is currently in negotiating with All Elite Wrestling, and he isn't holding back on criticizing the current WWE product. One aspect of the SmackDown he didn't like was how the New Day brought up the race as a reason why Kofi hasn't been given the opportunity he deserves. Ray should never have been brought into the Kofi storyline. Ross wrote on social media, "It's a classic underdog story. Race, religion, and politics have no place on wrestling television." 110% agreed. One problem is we have politics, race, and religion always being used. That's like when Jinder Mahal was WWE champion. He was using very racist tones when he was facing off against Shinsuke Nakamura. Crowd was actually chanting that was too far to him, and he thought it was. And Vince McMahon. They didn't apologize for it. Vince McMahon probably just thought, "Oh, this is great. They're doing what they should do." Vince McMahon, and is there racism in WWE? Of course there is. There has been since Vince McMahon comes from the 60s or 70s, when it was a different time. That doesn't excuse it, but Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon. He's going to do what he can to get this stuff over. Race, of course, should not have been anywhere near this, but it is what it is. I did these out of order. I know I did. Ross, yes, so Ross was right. Ross is absolutely right. Ray should not have been anywhere near this entire storyline. Ross wrote and said it's a classic underdog story, and yes, it is. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too much close to Daniel Bryan. WWE has this problem with their storytelling now that they cannot book a babyface that's not Daniel Bryan. An underdog babyface. There are different versions of the underdog babyface. And they decide, let's do as big as we can to Daniel Bryan. B-plus player. Fucking him over out of championship opportunity after championship opportunity. There's so much they want to try to do with Daniel Bryan. The biggest problem is you shouldn't do that. Daniel Bryan's road to WrestleMania 30 in 2014 was a special road to WrestleMania. You could not have put anybody in that spot. Period. It could have been. It didn't matter. You could not have put anybody else in there. You couldn't have put Seth Rollins. You couldn't put Dean Ambrose. You couldn't put Roman Reigns. You couldn't put anybody. You couldn't put Batista. You couldn't put Triple H. You couldn't put anybody. This one, you could have put Jeff Hardy. You could have put Mustafa Ali back in here somewhere. You could put Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Rey Mysterio. You could have put all those guys in that position, and it would have been just as big because it would have been an underdog babyface story. Maybe not Kevin Owens, but Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio would have fit this like a glove. Mustafa Ali was meant for him. Would have fit him like a glove. Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, all of them could have fit this like a glove. Kofi got the spot. So that's what they went with. So WWE's just got to be careful with the racial overtones. It's okay to bring it in a little bit, but you can't just make that the focal point, because if you make race the focal point of this feud, then everything this thing was built on goes away and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. As was mentioned earlier, possible stipulation for the Mania main event. Wrestling Observer Radio did report that the match could be a winner-take-all or all-on-the-line stipulation, hearing the two different names of the stipulation. The basic idea, as I mentioned, would be for anyone pins another champion, they would become champion. If Lynch pinned either Rousey or Charlotte, she would become the branch champions. If Charlotte or Rousey pinned one another, they become a dual champion. This report pointed out that things easily could change from the plans. If anything is announced, it would most likely be on Monday Night Raw. Again, why? Why would it doesn't make any sense reading that back. It makes no sense. If it's all on the line and Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey's titles are on the line, If Charlotte beats Ronda, she becomes a dual champion. If Ronda beats Charlotte, she becomes a dual champion. If Becky beats one or the other, she becomes a solo champion. Why would Ronda Rousey or Charlotte Flair want to pin Becky Lynch? That makes the match even worse. If that is the stipulation they go with, where both championships are on the line, but it's not a unification match, that makes the match worse. Really, that's just stupid. Here's something new for you guys, though. Worlds Collides. Again, this is something they did at the Royal Rumble Week Access, where they had NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live in a 15-man tournament to see who could get a championship opportunity, which led to the Velveteen Dream facing Johnny Gargano for the North American Championship and winning the title. It's a little different this time. WWE unveiled a preview of what fans can expect at WrestleMania Access this year, as current stars from both NXT and NXT UK brand will be appearing throughout the weekend, which will include a session of current NXT stars facing some of the brand's alumni following this from WWE.com. NXT Superstars versus NXT alum, Cruiserweights Collide, and more Access World Collide. Access, WWE's biggest fan gathering of the year in sports entertainment, just got even bigger with an addition of new Worlds Collide events. This year's Access, which runs through From April 4th through Monday, April 8th at Brooklyn Pier 12 in Brooklyn, New York, will feature unique, never-before-seen World Collide matches involving superstars from NXT UK, 205 Live, Raw, and SmackDown Live. Will be only chance to see these matches before they air on WWE Network. In addition, 3 sets of NXT UK tapes will take place at Access. The schedule is as follows. NXT versus NXT alum. The past meets the present. Former NXT stars battle current stars from a black and gold brand. The matches will include Roddy Strong versus Tyler Breeze, Dominic and Dijakovic versus Harper, who hasn't been seen since August, Sanity versus the Undisputed Era. That should be a great match. And Cassius Ohno versus Aiden English. Cruiserweights Collide. Cruiserweight from 205 Live, NXT UK and NXT will soar on the new heights in an inter-brand bout on Friday's Access session, featuring and matches will include Tyler Bate versus the Brian Kendrick, Akira Tozawa versus Jordan Devlin, Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews versus Arya Daivari and Mike Kanellis, and Albert Hardy Jr. versus Graham Metalik. Sessions run 1 through 5. Session 1 runs 1 to 5 p.m. and Session 2 runs 6 to 10 p.m. NXT UK tapings. Each Saturday's 3 Access sessions will feature an NXT UK taping for future airing on the award-winning WWE Network. Don't miss the rare opportunity to watch the United Kingdom's best and brightest stars competing stateside. See Session 1, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., Session 2, 1 to 5 p.m., and Session 3, 6 to 10. Grand Battle. 2 20 Superstar Battle Royals, 1 male and 1 for the female, will take place the morning of WrestleMania. Both Battle Royals will feature superstars from NXT, NXT UK, and the men's Battle Royal will additionally feature superstars from 205 Live. The women will collide on Monday, April 8th from 12 to 4. One day after female superstars main event WrestleMania for the first time in history, the women's evolution continues to take center stage at Access. Watch top female superstars from NXT, NXT UK, Raw, and SmackDown Live collide with matches including Io Shirai versus Sonya Deville, Toni Storm versus Nikki Cross versus Bianca Belair. Holy shit, that should be a hell of a match. Piper Niven versus Zelina Vega, Candice LeRae versus Kaylee Ray, and more. So there's going to be more matches that have not been announced yet. That Toni Storm versus Nikki Cross versus Bianca Belair should be a hell of a match. Especially with Nikki Cross and Bianca Belair continuing on what they did in NXT, and just that Toni Storm in there should be a hell of a match. Oh, jeez, that's a lot of matches. I just got goosebumps thinking of that triple threat match. I'm just saying. That should be a great match. And those are all going to air on the WWE Network eventually, so if you can't make it to Access, they will probably be airing after WrestleMania weekend, part of the week after. Here's a little bit of a confusion from this past week, as it was reported that Goldust was done with WWE. I'll read you the first story and then the rebuttal. WWE veteran Goldust was reportedly done with the company, according to Pro Wrestling Sheet. Goldust's contract recently expired, and he will be a free agent after 90-day no-compete clause. This is where it's like, wait a minute, that makes no sense. There's no word yet on when the deal expired, but the word is he will be free agent in May. He denies this, though. Veteran Goldust took to Twitter later in the day, from this report and denied his contract expired. He wrote, "I am still under contract with WWE, and everything that is being said online is just talking complete bullshit." He didn't say that. He minused out the H and the I. This is exactly why I hate smart mugs. Pro Wrestling Sheet just got it wrong, plain and simple. Now, Goldust's contract could be coming up, and he just wants to work everybody. So, like, if he shows up at Double or Nothing, where it is being speculated that he is going to be Cody's opponent at Double or Nothing. And on the latest edition of, there's been speculation on Dustin versus Cody Rhodes match at AEW's Double or Nothing event on Saturday, March 25th. It was recently announced that Cody would be facing a mystery opponent, and he stated that things are personal between them. The rumors picked up on the 9th Road to Double or Nothing episode was released earlier this week. The video included a tease from the match where Cody's seamstress asks if they should stay away from gold. So his contract might not be up, but it could be coming up soon. When it said in the report that he has a 90-day no-compete clause, that made no sense to me if his contract was up. If his contract was coming up, then he would be not seen, like he wouldn't have a no-compete clause. This is why Dean Ambrose is taken off of TV this past Monday, most likely, because WWE is not going to have somebody who was under contract with them if they're not going to sign a contract and his contract comes up that he works his final day on TV, say he's on Monday Night Raw the week before WrestleMania, and his contract was up that day. He could go and show up on the next Road to Double or Nothing, and boom, we have Jon Moxley on there. And it's like, oh shit, what the hell just happened? So that's why WWE does this, because back in 2005, I believe, it was 2005 or 2006, Christian's contract came up in WWE, and not even a week, like next episode of Impact that was done after his contract was up, he was in the Impact Zone as Christian Cage. And WWE doesn't want to go through that, especially with AEW Double or Nothing coming up soon. So if Goldust's contract comes up, even though Goldust hasn't been seen in a while because he had double knee surgery late last year, WWE doesn't want it to be like, oh, Goldust was under WWE contract and now he's gone. Or like Ambrose's contract's coming up and boom, he's at Double or Nothing. So there you go. So his contract might be up. And it might be coming up soon, but we don't know yet. Let me know what you think if Goldust, when his contract does come up, if it's up soon, will he be the opponent of Cody Rhodes at Double or Nothing? Going to go to a little recap here of a conference call Triple H just had. WrestleMania recently. WrestleMania 35 is just days away, which also means NXT TakeOver New York is also days away. NXT is Triple H's baby, and the game conducted his NXT media call ahead of the big event. He usually does this the week of the pay-per-views, but he did it a week earlier this time. Wrestling Link was on hand for the call, and Nick Hossman asked him about Lars Sullivan's status amid reports that he walked out of the company in January. It's one of those situations where you just have to wait and see. Triple H said of Sullivan, there's much more to come. You just have to wait and see. Sullivan was supposed to debut on Raw along with main roster call-ups such as Tommaso Ciampa. No, that was wrong. Whoever wrote this is wrong. He was supposed to make his debut along Nikki Cross, EC3, Lacey Evans, and Heavy Machinery. We knew Ciampa, speaking on Ciampa though, Ciampa had a brief run with the main roster before recently undergoing neck surgery. Triple H talked about what was known about Ciampa's neck injury prior to his debut. Triple H says, and I quote, "We knew about it. We knew it was going to be necessary going forward," admitted Triple H. The decision was still made to move him up to the main roster and get him some exposure. Then he'd take time off, get fixed up, and be back better than ever. Unfortunately, with the type of injury he had, it went from one thing to another very rapidly. It changed from something being manageable to being a risk we're not willing to take. Ciampa and Gargano planned on continuing the storyline in WWE that started in NXT, but Ciampa's injury threw a wrench in those plans. Gargano's WWE plans have also come to a stall, and after just a few matches in WWE, he's back down in NXT. He says they knew about it. Triple H knew about it, but with the fact that there was no, from what we were told, there wasn't really any communication between Triple H and Vince McMahon on these guys coming up. I feel that, and they had, and Tommaso Ciampa has been taken off the road for NXT. And he was only going to be booked to do the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first 2 rounds, and then have that angle with Johnny Gargano, and that he was going to be able to rest his neck going into the main event of NXT Takeover, drop the title there, and then go off to have neck surgery. Because of Vince McMahon's carelessness, selfishness, and willing to sabotage Triple H as best as he could, that's not going to happen. Now, if his neck was really as bad as it is, why did Triple H not have? I know Ciampa probably wanted to pull this off, like hold this off as long as he could. I could see Tommaso Ciampa being one of those guys who wanted to hold this thing off as much as he could, and the fact that it's just one of those things that I don't. I blame it's Vince McMahon's. Like it's not 100% Vince McMahon's fault because if Ciampa's neck injury was that bad, he should have went the surgery as fast as he could. But I can see that Vince McMahon pulling these guys out of NXT without telling Triple H was probably a terrible move. As the head of NXT, Triple H is thrilled to have Gargano back in the fold, but also responded to a theory that he and Vince McMahon had a tug of war regarding Gargano staying in WWE or going back to NXT. This is a political answer. There's not a conversation at all where I go, you can't have him stay to Triple H. None of this stuff happens without Vince's sign off or approval. It's all one team. It's a creative synergy between both WWE and NXT. Bullshit. Sometimes Triple H mentioned that sometimes the isn't planned can actually turn out better than what was originally planned. Just happens to go and remain to be seen, but adapting it just part of the business. I've often said sometimes that the best things come out of the chaos. Chaos, for whatever reason, sometimes creates this beautiful storyline, said Triple H. So, yeah. Well, the reason that Gargano is back in NXT and not on the main roster is because what was going to happen with Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa on the main roster was going to be the only thing they were doing. With Tommaso Ciampa being out, they don't have anything for Gargano, and thankfully, whether it's like, well, you have no plans for him anyway, and we got to finish stuff down in NXT, so we're just going to bring him down here somehow. Hopefully that's what happened, and hopefully Gargano's not going up to the main roster anytime soon, because quite honestly, they don't need him. They don't. They do not need him. He could still be great down in NXT. If he wins the NXT Championship, he's going absolutely nowhere. If he's going to stay in it, if he's not winning the championship, he could still stay down there and chase out. I don't know what they're going to do with him, actually. But if he stayed in NXT, he could win the championship and hold it for about till Toronto 2, which is why I figured he was going to drop it anyway, and then possibly come up. We'll just have to wait and see. Another storyline that has been stalled is Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic. It was unknown if the program was put on hold due to injury or due to creative decision. Triple H said it was because of the latter. There's constantly things that shift and morph and require us to take different stabs at creative. This is one of those situations. I don't want to get into any of the medical stuff, but we had to put a pause on it for a second, said Triple H. We had a situation that made us change some creative. Basically, Keith Lee is injured. It's not a bad injury like a Tommaso Ciampa, but he's going to be out for a while. He's going to be out till probably, I would say, the next takeover, which is going to be in San Jose. That will probably be where the Dominik Dijakovic versus Keith Lee thing could end. But honestly, I think it's a good thing. I'm not saying that injuries are good. I think it's a good thing that it got paused because it was supposed to lead to takeover, and that match would be overshadowed by everything else on the show. And those two are good at what they do to not be overshadowed in anything. So Keith Lee's gone for now. He gets better. And I believe it's June is when the next show is going to happen. June or July. I think it's June. That is where they could do that. Maybe in May. Sometime in May, if Keith Lee's healthy enough, he can come back and they can restart up the feud, which leads to the next takeover with Dominik Dijakovic versus Keith Lee in a marquee match. Maybe a number one contenders match for the North American Championship, with the winner getting the title shot at TakeOver Toronto 2. That's just my thought. JR's contract with WWE has come to an end, and this guy is on his way to AEW. Earlier this month, WWE Hall of Famer good old JR, Jim Ross, confirmed that he would be parting ways with the WWE when his current contract expires. On his show, the Ross Report, JR mentioned that a lot of great opportunities are coming, even if it's time with WWE has reached its conclusion. The last day of JR's contract had arrived. I believe it was Wednesday, and JR took to Twitter to comment on what day entails. It was actually, I think, Thursday. Big day. It's the final day of my contract with WWE after 26 years and a couple years being fired. A WWE camera crew arriving at my home today to record for the Undertaker documentary. I am honored to be a part of it. Great way to exit. There's no official word of what is next for JR. We previously noted that despite being under contract with WWE until Thursday, he has now been in talks with AEW. He says, I don't know. AEW and I are talking. JR said, I haven't signed anything yet. My people and their people are doing their thing. He's talked about this with Outside the Lines last week. The only agent I grew up knowing was a State Farm agent in Oklahoma. I got a real agent now, man, so they're working on it. I'd like to go into some voiceover work. I would like to do some radio gig doing college football. Which, if he goes to AEW, and I'm sure if he goes to AEW, he can probably get somewhere in there, because if they go to Turner, I'm sure he can get back on the Turner broadcast teams for college football. I'm sure he could. So they are moving out from WWE. It is Saturday, so his contract is up and he is gone. So I'm sure we'll be hearing about. It would not surprise me on the next Road to Double or Nothing, episode 10, we hear JR is being added to AEW. It would not surprise me. That seems like something they would put on Road to Double or Nothing, for sure. Nakamura has checked out of WWE. How was this so? Shinsuke Nakamura is a former NXT champion, but hasn't done much on the main roster recently. He was teased for a main event spot, and 1 year ago, he was headed into a huge match against AJ Styles at Wrestlemania after winning the Royal Rumble match. However, this is not a current spot on the roster right now. Dave Meltzer discussed this situation during Wrestling Observer Radio. Nakamura relocated his family to Florida, where he took a job with WWE. They like it there, so it looks like that's all he's that's all he's in it for now. He's not doing anything. He's checked out. He's just there to. His family likes Florida. He's out there to surf. He's kind of on his pension now. You know what I mean. WWE has a real talent with Shinsuke Nakamura. They could push him as a rock star once again, but it would take some more convincing from Vince McMahon to do something with him. In the meantime, Shinsuke Nakamura will tag with Rusev and enjoy surfing when he's at home, because apparently Florida has better waves than Japan. Hey, Nakamura. When your contract comes up, don't sign a new one. You can stay in Florida. Just go to Jacksonville. There's a group in Jacksonville who would mind paying you some good money and giving you a hell of a spot. I'm sure you're not going to give you the main event spot, but they could at least build you up as from the start, and you would skyrocket up there. And I'm sure you would do much better in AEW, and they would appreciate you better than WWE has since you've come to the main roster. 2-time NXT champion, and hasn't done anything since the main roster. He should have beat Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam. Should have beat Jinder Mahal at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. What did they do? Buried him 6 feet under. He wins the Royal Rumble, comes out, goes to WrestleMania, does not win the WWE Championship, turns heel, and it's just all downhill from there. So, him being checked out, I'm not surprised, and quite honestly, if he's to leave WWE, it would not surprise me one bit if he shows up at Double or Nothing for the over-budget Battle Royal. Before we get to the little bit of AEW news I have, Ryback says WWE is taking their fans for granted, and I agree with this. Ryback says this WrestleMania is coming up in just a week and a half, but it does not really feel like it's that close for some reason. WWE didn't seem to put as much effort into building their top matches as they had in the past, and it showed in the shows. During conversations with the big guy, Matt Kuhn asked Ryback if he thinks that WWE is starting to take the fans for granted, and he received the information and affirmative response. I would agree with that completely. I think that they have done such a great job of building WrestleMania up as it is. People know it's an attraction, and they go to these big stadiums, and they're going to sell out or come close to a sellout. And people from all over the world are just going to come and experience the wrestling week, and with all the festivities in town. The event almost sells itself now to where they don't have to put as much focus necessarily on storylines, and building up that year is definitely selling itself. So I think I would agree with you that does happen this year, definitely. Every year seems to get a little worse, and as far as the lack of this sometimes. From a talent standpoint, they're just doing what they're told, and again, I think the girls' storyline and the women with Ronda has gotten a lot of the attention, but the Brock and Seth stuff doesn't feel as special as it should, and I don't know, that's just me watching it, and I don't know, there's just something that doesn't feel as big about this WrestleMania. No matter how much attention WWE is putting on the WrestleMania event, it will still do great numbers. It is WWE's biggest show of the year, and set to be a long night of sports entertainment. We could have use a little bit more build up, but the company has still putting the pieces together for the show of shows until very later in the game, this time around because of a ton of setbacks and changes. This is 100%. This is just something that WWE, it's just what it is. WWE can't, they don't know what they're doing half the time. They don't care. They know that they could put James Ellsworth versus Hornswoggle in one of them in a match at WrestleMania, and people are still going to be there because it's WrestleMania. I was watching, I think it was JD from New York, yeah, and he put a thing. He went over the same story too. This is just my thoughts, and he put a clip in there, an audio portion, and it spells WWE immediately. Family Guy, when they had that episode, Stewie-roids. It was called the episode was Stewie-roids, and I'm just going off what he said because it's exactly right. Stewie is being tended by his mom, and she's like, "Oh, it's not going to hurt, honey," and she dabs him with some Johnson & Johnson that says "No more tears," and it touches him, and he's like, "Oh, there's lying bastards at Johnson & Johnson," and it does one of the cutaways as Family Guy would do, and it's like, we'll put no more tears on it, but it does make you cry. I know. And they start laughing maniacally, and it's like, that is WWE to a T. They'll go out and like, this is WrestleMania, the showcase of the immortals, the granddaddy of them all. And then we get Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. We get Asuka being relegated to the Women's Battle Royal. Kofi Kingston having to jump through impossible hoops just to get to WrestleMania. Yeah. I agree 110%. But also, we, like, not me, but a lot of fans expect so much because it's WrestleMania, and we're given shit. We're expecting to have a steak with all the fixings and a thing of mashed potatoes, a cheesecake for desserts, and what we get is a shit sandwich on a bun. And that's what it is. That's WrestleMania for you. It's a shit sandwich on a bun. And WWE knows that they don't have to put much effort into it because, again, it's WrestleMania and it's going to sell out. And us as people are conditioned to just be like, well, it's WrestleMania. They didn't do great last year. I'm sure they're going to do better this year. I'm sure they're going to do better this year. And then they don't. And then they don't. And then they don't. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The last good, great WrestleMania was WrestleMania 25. Quite honestly. WrestleMania 25... Well, WrestleMania 26, probably 26 actually. 25 really was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, and that was about it. I think WrestleMania 26 was the last really, really great WrestleMania. WrestleMania 27, WrestleMania 28, WrestleMania 29 was just CM Punk and The Undertaker for me. WrestleMania 30 had Daniel Bryan, and that was it. WrestleMania 31 was Seth Rollins. The Heist of the Century was it for that show. WrestleMania 32 was god-awful completely. WrestleMania 33 had nothing. WrestleMania last year was just And then there's this year. Yeah, WrestleMania has just gone downhill. And then we'll come into WrestleMania this year, and they're going to be like, 95,000 people are here at MetLife Stadium, or 85,000. There's only like 55 people there, 55,000 people there. Yeah, they're taking us for granted, and they can because we take it. We just take it. And the more people, like, the ratings might drop, but people are still going to go to WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania. People still go to the Super Bowl. So this year's Super Bowl was absolutely fucking horrendous. It was the Punters Bowl until the recently retired Ron Gronkowski, I believe, caught a touchdown pass, and that was it. This year's Super Bowl was terrible. People are going to go to next year's because it's going to be different. It's going to feel different, hopefully. And it's probably going to be shit too. It's just how it is. So, if anybody thinks that, oh, this has been a great WrestleMania build, you are out of your fucking mind. This has been terrible, and we all know it. But let me know what you think about that. Yes, I agree with Ryback. I don't listen to the big guy talking with the big guy, but if you read that, it's definitely 100% true. 100% true. They take us for granted, and they always will because they can. Little bit of double or nothing news. The main event has been revealed. It was revealed on the latest episode of All Elite Wrestling's Road to Double or Nothing series that a grudge match between Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho will indeed headline AEW's first ever event. This Jericho vs. Omega match will be a rematch from the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 12 event in 2017 that saw Omega retain the IWGP United States Heavyweight title over Jericho in a no DQ match. In the feature video, Omega, who is also on one of the executive vice presidents of AEW, cut a promo on Jericho to reveal their match as the main event. Omega, speaking from the recent Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, said Jericho couldn't beat him with his no DQ stipulation, and he won't be able to beat him this time. He says, "So I will thank Jericho if he beats me at Double or Nothing. Isn't that the big question? We all owe him a big thank you, don't we? We wouldn't be successful without you, Chris," Omega joked. "Maybe I do owe you a proper thanks, but I'll tell you what you're not going to get from me unless you beat me. If you can, yeah, I'll thank you. Why not? That's the problem, Chris. You're going to have to beat me first. You couldn't get the job done before. What makes you think without a hardcore stipulation, without you being able to use weapons, without being able to do whatever the hell you want, that you can actually beat me? I don't know, but I am eagerly awaiting your response, and I'm eagerly awaiting to meet you again at Double or Nothing in the main event." Double or Nothing, AEW's first event, takes place on Saturday, May 25th from the MGM Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. As we know, Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho will be your main event. Also, the AAA World Tag Team titles will be on the line as Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix will take on the Young Bucks, who did win those titles last week. Team All Elite, SCU versus Team OEW, with Chima and two partners to be announced. Hopefully that will be made official before we get to Double or Nothing. Kip Sabian, Sonny Kiss, Ace Romero, and Brandon Cutler in the Over the Budget Battle Royal. Hangman Page versus Pac. Cody Rhodes versus someone we don't know yet. And Britt Baker versus Kylie Rae versus Nyla Rose. That is AEW. Double or Nothing for you. Still a lot to get to, but it would not surprise me going into the next episode, which I believe is episode 10 or 11. It would not surprise me if JR is on that, or we get a phone call or something from Jim Ross being signed to AEW. But that is your Unscripted for this week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Let me know what you guys think of everything we talked about this week, and I will see you guys here Monday for Monday Night Raw, Tuesday for SmackDown Live, and Wednesday for NXT, as we are on the go-home week of WrestleMania. Until then, my name is Franz, and I will see you guys later.